Have you ever said no to somebody in Portugal and then immediately regret it by the look on their face? Maybe you declined an offer from a neighbour and they seemed offended, or you turned down a street vendor and it just felt awkward. I get it. The last thing you want when you're trying to integrate into Portuguese culture is to come across as rude. But the truth is, a harsh no can actually do that. So today I'm going to teach you 5 polite alternatives to saying no that the Portuguese people actually use every single day themselves. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which phrases to use in different situations, from restaurant offers to street vendors to social invitations. My name is Liz and I help people who are relocating or retiring to Portugal to go from struggling with basic Portuguese to having confident conversations in everyday situations. And trust me, knowing how to decline politely is one of the most essential skills that will make your life here so much easier. And speaking of essential skills, if you're just getting started with Portuguese, I do have a free 60-minute lesson for beginners that covers pronunciation, real-life Portuguese, and only essential grammar for daily conversations. So just type beginner in the comments and I will send you a link. You'll also find out how to apply to work with me in the Portuguese Pro program, where I take students from saying their very first words up to having their first real conversations with native speakers. Okay, so let's talk about why a direct no can be problematic in Portugal. Portuguese culture really values politeness, so a blunt no can come across as abrupt or even aggressive, especially with people that you don't know well. It's kind of similar to what we talked about in my video on why the word você can be rude in Portugal. There are these cultural nuances that textbooks just don't teach you. So I'll link that video in the description if you want to understand more about that. So here are your polite alternatives, and I'm going to tell you when exactly to use each one. The first one is estou bem, obrigada. This means I'm fine, thank you. So this is your go-to for declining offers of food and drink or help, for example. So quick pronunciation note, men will say obrigado with a nice U at the end, not an O, and women will say obrigada. The U at the end of a word ending in O is one of the pronunciation rules that really trips people up because they want to say O instead of U. So make sure you remember that. So you could use this, for example, if a waiter offers you dessert and you already feel full, or someone wants to buy you a coffee and you've already had 3 today. So an example might be, quer sobremesa? Do you want dessert? Estou bem, obrigada. One of my students, Jennifer, told me about a perfect example of this. She and her husband met their language partner at a hospital where she works as a receptionist, and she'd asked if they would prefer to speak in English, but Jennifer was able to politely decline, saying, if it's okay with you, we would like to practice our Portuguese if you don't mind speaking slowly. So here's that phrase in Portuguese. Não, se não se importa, gostaríamos de praticar o nosso português, se não se importar de falar devagar. The receptionist smiled and continued in Portuguese, even mentioning that English is a challenge for her too, and that's how they ended up becoming language partners. So that is the power of these phrases. They show you how to give respect to people whilst asserting your boundaries, and people will really appreciate the effort that you're making. The next phrase is não me apetece. This literally means I don't feel like it, it doesn't appeal to me, and it's less harsh than saying, no, I don't want to. So now needs to have that nasal sound. Just imagine saying the word now in English, but with a pinched up nose, so it sounds like now. And in the word apetece, that first A is closed. So it's like the A in away instead of the A in apple, okay? Apetece. And if you've been watching my videos recently, you'll know that that closed E on the end of the word really gets swallowed up. You will barely hear it when a native speaker is speaking. If you're finding Portuguese pronunciation challenging, I have a free guide of the 7 most difficult sounds with native audio that breaks down these rules. The link is in the description. So you can use this one when friends invite you to go out, but you want to stay in, if someone's suggested an activity that you're not interested in, for example. So someone could say to you, vamos à praia, hoje não me apetece, mas obrigada. Phrase 3, vou pensar no assunto. I will think about it. Now, this is perfect for buying time when you're not ready to commit to something yet. So this might be a real estate agent that is pressuring you, or somebody in general who's trying to sell you something. So if somebody has just given a presentation about something you are selling, you could say, vou pensar no assunto e depois contacto-vos. I'll think about it and then I will contact you. Phrase number 4 is parece interessante, mas agora não. It seems interesting, but not right now. This is brilliant because you are validating their suggestion while still declining. Once again, on the pronunciation, the E at the end of parece is almost silent and very closed. So you can use this when a salesperson approaches you, for example, or someone invites you to something, but the timing's bad, but you want to leave the door open for the future. Here's a little bonus phrase that also works wonders if you're in some kind of sales situation. One of my students, John, shared this with the community, and he learned that saying já comemos, we have already eaten, is very useful when you're walking down the street in Lisbon and people are thrusting restaurant menus at you. A polite já comemos, obrigado stops them in their tracks because you're being very polite while clearly communicating that you are not interested. Finally, phrase 5, prefiro fazer outra coisa. I prefer to do something else. This is of course more direct, but still polite because you're just stating a preference, not really rejecting them. So if you're making plans with friends and someone suggests something that you definitely don't want to do and you want to propose an alternative, this is great. So for example, vamos ver esse filme? Prefiro fazer outra coisa. Que tal jantar em vez disso? I prefer to do something else. How about going for dinner instead? Lastly, another bonus phrase that is going to work so well when you want to tell someone you're just looking and not buying. Estou só a ver. Obrigada. I'm just looking, thanks. This one is of course for shopping purposes only, but it is so useful in Portugal. You know that moment when you walk into a store and somebody immediately asks, precisa de ajuda? Do you need help? But you want to browse without being bothered. So this is the phrase for you. Estou só a ver. Obrigada, or obrigado if you're a man. Trust me, this phrase will become one of your most used in Portugal. I actually cover this question and many more practical shopping phrases in my video, 10 essential questions to ask and answer in Portugal. I'll link that in the description because it is packed with phrases that you're going to use every single day. So there you have it, 5 ways to say no politely in Portuguese without accidentally offending anyone, plus a couple of bonus phrases there. I promise you, knowing these phrases will make your life in Portugal so much more comfortable. If you want more practical phrases like this for everyday situations, from slang vocabulary to handling appointments, I've got a whole playlist that is packed with exactly this kind of content. It's your survival kit for navigating Portugal like a local. I will link it in the description. Now I want to hear from you. Have you accidentally offended someone by saying something too directly in Portuguese? Or maybe you've been in a situation where you wished you knew how to say no politely. Share your stories in the comments below. I love to read them. And if you're ready to stop feeling awkward in Portuguese conversations and actually sound like you belong here, head to the description of this video and register for my free 60-minute beginner lesson. We will cover all the pronunciation fundamentals, real life Portuguese, and only the essential grammar that you're actually going to need for daily life. Just type beginner in the comments and we will send you the link. I'll be back next week with more tips and tutorials to build your confidence and conversation skills in European Portuguese, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a thing. Ciao for now.